the way, I watched AOC answering questions in Munich. This was not a good look for the United States. I watched Gavin Newscum answering questions in Munich, and this was a bad look for our country. This was a bad. These two people are incompetent, and at least Hillary's competent. She's just Trump deranged. She was so deranged, and she is an angry woman. But I watched the other two speaking and answering basic questions. Look, Gavin has destroyed California, and AOC, I never heard her speak very much, and they started answering questions. She had no idea what was happening. She had no idea how to answer, very important questions concerning the world. But she can't answer questions concerning New York City either, because New York City has some problems.
Now to Munich, where Secretary of State Marco Rubio delivered an exceptional speech, genuinely profound, but Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, well, she wasn't impressed.
Was a pure appeal to Western culture. My favorite part was when he said that American cowboys came from Spain.
I thought they came from Winnetou, but
I believe the Mexicans and descendants of African enslaved peoples would like to have a word on that.
Actually, it did originate in Spain, and AOC might also want to reflect on why Mexicans speak Spanish. How did that happen? Let's hear more from AOC. Here she talks about culture and Western civilization.
A fluid, evolving thing that is a response to the conditions that we live in. And so they want to take this mantle of culture. At the end of the day, though, it is very thin.
The values that underpinned Western civilization, Western culture are very thin. She's a Marxist and not a particularly bright one or an eloquent one. Listen here as AOC struggles to answer the most obvious of questions about Taiwan. This is painful.
Would and should the U.S. actually commit U.S. troops to defend Taiwan if China were to move?
I think that this is such a, I think that this is of course a very long-standing policy of the United States. And I think what we are hoping for is that we want to make sure that we never get to that point.
Oh dear, they're not sending their best, are they? But it gets worse. Also on that panel was the Democrat governor of Michigan, Gretchen Whitmer. Listen to how she flounders trying to answer a question about Ukraine, and she even says that AOC is much better equipped to talk about geopolitics. The AOC we just heard, really? Goodness.
On Ukraine, what does victory look like?
No, please. I'd love to hear your answer.
Yeah, it is. The two that I am on the panel with are much more steeped in foreign policy than a governor is. But I do think that Ukraine's independence, keeping their land mass, and having the support of all the allies, I think is the goal from my vantage point.
Now compare the Democrats' contribution at the Munich Security Conference to this blistering address from the Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who spelled out to America's European allies that the Trump administration has no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. This is brilliant. Listen to every word.
And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it. And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline.
And Marco Rubio made it clear that the US alliance with Europe must be built on strength and the values of Western civilization. I'm warning you, you may need a cold shower or a cigarette after hearing this.
We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency. An alliance the alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future. And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations.